Good to go? All right. Hey, well, good afternoon. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Like we said the other day, we know we had a few technical issues on our last board meeting. We apologize for that, but our team does a great job. We just had a couple things pop up. I will wait about 30 more seconds just to let everybody get time to get logged in. And we appreciate you guys tuning in today, where we'll go over, this will be the same presentation I gave the board, and we'll go from there. So we'll wait about 30 seconds, and then I'll come back in and we'll get going from there. All right, well, we're going to get started. Let's see, Mr. Conyers, I'll let you key it up. All right, so again, this is the same presentation I gave the board the other night. It'll kind of tell you the how, the why. I think that's the main thing that a lot of people were asking. Again, we gave this presentation the other night, but a portion of it was cut off, so you'll see the full presentation at the end. Any questions you may have, just Just put it through the form that Ms. Taunton has out there now, and we will answer them as we go through at the very end. All right, so the first thing here, just a little background. We in the last 2 years, we have asked the City of Prattville, the County Commission, and the Town of Pine Level to look at entering financial agreements with us as far as solving our facility issues. To be clear, and I'm going to speak on this a little bit at the end, I've never asked anybody to help us out with our day-to-day. I will get into the why on that in a few more other slides, but again, it has to do with millage. It has to do with being a 10 mil system and how bonds are awarded to school systems. Like I said, I'll get to that a little later, but I just want to be clear that what we've been trying to solve are the long-term facility issues, not the day-to-day. Day-to-day is my job, and I'll get to a slide in a minute where I think it'll show we've done a pretty good job on that. To date, the Commission and Town of Pine Level have indicated that they could possibly partner with us in some type of way. Now, I want to be clear, there are no formal agreements or anything like that. It's just conversations we've had. And also, to be fair to the City of Prattville, initially there was some good discussions there as well. But as you know, the City of Prattville, especially recently, has discussed the idea of a city system a lot here lately. Because the conversations have been geared more toward a city system, the discussion of partnering in a funding agreement they've slowed down drastically because, again, they're looking at a city system. So that's a little bit of the background. Again, we're here because we've been trying to solve the facility issues. I've been very clear on every public discussion we've had on this. We've had numerous public meetings. We have two long-term issues that we cannot solve. We can solve the smaller issue in terms of money, and that's the growth in Billingsley and Pine Level, Marbury areas. But the long-term facility issues in Prattville, I've been very clear all along that a 10 mil system is going to have issues solving those problems. And again, that's kind of the backstory of how we got here. All right. So as the conversations have been occurring with the city, it's my job to look at, hey, what are some things that we need to be thinking through? What are some things that on the county side that we need to be ahead of it? So this is a major piece of the whole, does the system split, does it not? This is a major piece that I need people to understand. This is one of the driving reasons why we are looking at purchasing the property. All right, so there are currently 700 students that live outside the city limits of Prattville that currently attend Prattville schools. Now, a lot of the dry ink, the finalized plan will be determined by if there's a split, what does that settlement agreement look like? I can tell you I've done a lot of research on systems that's done this. Some of them are really rigid. Hey, the only people that are coming to our city system are those that live in the city limits. Some have grandfathered in kids. So what I'm about to say, I mean like wholeheartedly, like we cannot answer how many kids that's going to be until if that process occurred. But again, 700 students would be affected by this. Rough estimates indicate that between 400 and 600 would be zoned for Pine Level Marbury schools, and 100 to 300 would attend Billingsley. Again, I know that's a wide range, but we can't narrow that down until we know a little more long-term what that situation looks like with the city's Prattville. The issue we have in terms of long-term planning is related to the facilities and space for these students, okay? So Billingsley is one of our newer buildings. I know that's kind of ironic because it was built in the late 90s, but it has a lot of space out there. I don't believe capacity is an issue there. Capacity is an issue at Marbury High School. As many of you know, I was the principal out there. We did a big addition to the school, and even with that addition, currently right now, there's one empty classroom, and there's 2 other classrooms that could accommodate students. So honestly, as it sits right now, another 100, 150 students would challenge the infrastructure of Marbury High School. Obviously, if you compound that and said, okay, if 500 students go to Marbury Pine level, that's going to be about 42 kids per grade level. Again, give or take some of the numbers, but again, use that number and it'll kind of project out why we have a problem. Just from the split alone, if that occurred, you're looking at 160, 170 kids that immediately would in theory, be zoned to Marbury High School. And again, the capacity is already very close to being full as it is. And then you compound that with, that's really not even the major issue out there. The major issue in the Marbury Pine level area is the exponential growth that has occurred. As many of you know, there's some issues with the water supply out there. I'm telling you, as soon as that is fixed, there's going to be numerous subdivisions built, and we're going to have even more growth that we got to accommodate for. So you combine the expected growth in population due to the growth in the area with the additional students that would arrive after the formation of a city system. And again, this is what I've been preaching. You're going to have a major long-term problem. Now, I'm going to pause there. Again, I've been preaching since I came in. We have two major long-term problems we can't solve. And I know I just said that, but everybody needs to understand, I've been working on the Prattville side for a couple of years, but I've also been working on this side for a couple of years. The reality is, if the system splits, it heightens the growth problem in Marbury exponentially overnight. So that's why we're talking about it now. I'm sorry, I went one too far. Okay, so these are two maps that I pulled presenting to the board. The map on the left is our district map at the moment. I said this the other night at the board, so you have to forgive me. I don't see colors great, so I'm just going to describe it like this. The far left portion of the map is Billingsley. As you can see, it's a larger area, but obviously, you know, houses are a lot more spread out in that area. The green, I'm assuming, good. The green area is the current Prattville zone with the pink area. I'm looking at Ms. Thompson, she's shaking her head, I'm guessing right. So the pink area is combined with the green area. That is your current Prattville zone. The two shades of blue above it is the Pine Level Marbury zone. Now, if you'll fix your eyes to the map on the right, I'm not saying that's exactly correct. I did a Google search of Prattville city limits, and that's the map that popped up. So if you take the map on the right and you kind of visualize the map on the left, and you put the map on the right on top of the map on the left, you'll see that you have a large area, the green area and some of the pink area, that is outside the city limits. And again, if a split occurs, students live there. Where are they going to go? I have no idea. I can't answer that right now. But this is something I have to plan for long term. We have to have the ability to accommodate our students. So again, this is why I think the maps kind of give a better picture than me talking about it. I think the maps show you the immense scope of the decision that this is going to be if the city goes that route and splits off. Okay, so I felt like it was important as well that you have all the information. As many of you know, again, I was principal at Marbury, and a lot of the families up there have asked me repeatedly, hey, why haven't you built a new middle school? Well, part of it's funding, but also is this right here. When I became a superintendent, there's mandatory training that we have to have. The picture on the left, the Alabama Instructional Leadership Handbook, this is the handbook that we get as far as training from the Superintendent Academy. The picture on the right is the page where this is all coming from. I will read the blurb there, that's at the top portion of it. A secondary school is a school with any combination of grades 5 through 12, but must contain a grade above 8. And here's the part where I need everybody to understand. Existing schools must have a base of 15 acres. That don't apply to a new Prattville High School or a new Marbury High School. A proposed secondary school must have a minimum base of 30 acres of land plus 1 acre for every 100 students. So I'm going to show you a map in just a second that is an aerial photo of the property. That right there is why it was a very good investment a few years ago when the Board of Education purchased the land, but that's why you haven't seen any construction there, because the land does not meet the required number of acres to be able to build. So that takes us to the map here. At the bottom of the picture is a large rectangle. That rectangle is our current property. Mr. Conyers, can you go to me and I'll point real quick just to make sure everybody that's watching knows what I'm talking about. So, okay, that's a little different. That's okay, that's okay. There you go. All right, so this portion right here is what we own, okay? This portion. All right, the portion above us, that's good. You can go back to the full screen. The portion above our land, so you'll see a row of trees just to the north of our property. That is somebody else's property, okay? That's landowner number one. Landowner number two is the Ace Hardware. There's a few things about that part of the property that I need everyone to kind of zone in on. First off, there's a 17,000 square foot building that, again, I'm going to spend a little time here that I didn't spend with the board the other night, because I want to try to use the picture to answer a lot of the why questions. If you look at the 17,000 square foot building, obviously that can be used for a lot of things educationally, okay? If you've ever been at Ace Hardware, it is very large, it is very wide open, it has some offices. Obviously, if we repurpose it, we would, when we repurpose the building, how you use it will be determined on what you do with the land next to it. So let me back up. So the property to the Ace Hardware, you see the building in the middle, that is Ace Hardware. The storage area behind it, the storage area to the side of it, that's areas where you have covered pole barns. The shop behind it is the 1,200 square foot enclosed small engine repair area. But look further to the left, you will see a county road going down beside it. That is a major point of this property that is very valuable as well. It allows us to have 2 points of entry, 2 points of exit without adding existing turning lanes off of 31. One thing that has hindered development in 31 is when you put in a turning lane, it is very expensive. In this scenario, we have a turning lane at Pine Level that can be repurposed. We also could put in another one on that rectangle that we own, but we also have another point of entry on the county road that butts up to Ace Hardware. So the Ace property solves several issues for us. Number one, it gets us to that 1 acre for every 100 students. That gets us to about 40 total acres that would allow long-term decisions, okay? I keep going back to that because I don't know exactly where this is going to wind up, but it gives you flexibility in the decisions. It could also, long-term, if you can secure more land or whatever, that could possibly be, if the city splits, that could be where you house the entire Autauga County Board of Education operations. That could be a career tech facility. That could be a field house. It could be a fine arts auditorium. You're going to have to build those types of things anyway, so that building could be connected to land, to the school to the right of the property. It just opens the door on a lot of possibilities that, again, we can't even begin to discuss because we don't own enough land. The biggest misconception out there right now is that I brought this to the board because of the land. That is inaccurate. There is no world where I would have ever brought this to the Board of Education and asked them to pay roughly $400,000 an acre. Okay, now I will say this. There is a parcel to the far, if you're looking at the Ace portion right there, there's a 1.2 acre parcel that is included in this purchase that is currently on the market for $600,000. There's also several parcels along 31 that have sold in the range of $200,000 to, I believe, $600,000, maybe $700,000. So this property, there's a lot of questions about why did you pay, or why are you trying to pay $4.2 million? Okay, I'm going to get to the building side of it. The buildings that are included and the flexibility it gives us is a major portion. But it was on the market for $3.75 million. The property, again, the bottom left corner was on the market for, I believe, $600,000. You add those up, it's what, roughly $4.4 million, somewhere around there. The parcel that is now, if you look at the upper left-hand corner of that tract of land right here, you will see 2 rows that kind of makes another parcel. That parcel was about to be up for sale. It was going to be up for sale for between $300,000 and $400,000. So we did not just buy one thing. We got we received 3 different parcels of land that adds up to be 10.5 acres. Plus, I keep going back to the building that I can't build as cheap as we bought it. And I will get into that in just a minute using real world data. So again, I wanted to explain that a little more because the questions are legitimate questions. You have a right to know what went into some of that thought process. That's why we were looking at it. Okay, I'm going to move on to cost of construction. So we have many similar types of projects that we're currently working on across the state, across the county. This came from our latest bid that was awarded. The figures on the screen is what we are paying to the low bidder. The train that is coming down the tracks that I will keep just saying over and over and over, the cost of construction has devalued what 10 mills can do. When we get a bond, it is based off of your available millage as a county system. Look at the numbers on the screen. The reason that you have to have funding agreements if you're a county system is you don't qualify for the amount of money you need to make a massive construction project like the Prattville High School. Now, the city would have other avenues they could pursue as far as city funding. City systems have a little more flexibility. As a county system, everything goes back to your millage. We're a 10 mill system. We have about $45 million in one bond that was used to purchase buses and the current Prattville kindergarten, so that eats up a lot of our borrowing capacity. Now, I'll get to this in another slide in a minute. We've also paid off numerous bonds in the last few years as well. But let's go back to this slide here. This is where I need people to understand. They're like, hey, the building's not worth it. Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're right, wrong, or indifferent. In the education world, here's the latest bid. I'm going to start at the Prattville Indoor Hitting Facility. All right, let me explain this. Prattville and Marbury, we are enclosing the softball areas, okay? I don't have Billingsley up there yet because we put about $1.6 million into the livestock learning lab. I'm going to get Billingsley on there hopefully next year, but there's some things for Billingsley as well. Well, let's go back. Prattville, Marbury Indoor Hitting Facility, $161 a square foot, $199 a square foot. I'm going to explain that. If you're familiar with Marbury's facility, the softball field, there's a narrow road that goes behind the facility. They're going to have to cut into that and make it a little more of a road. That's why the cost per square foot is more, because the dirt work required. It's the same building, but when you bid these projects, it's all inclusive. Total cost, $620, $670. But again, I want you to zero in on the cost per square foot. Those two facilities are not going to be heated, they're not going to have heat and air. I don't believe they're going to have restrooms. I have to go back and double check some of that. Think of a basic facility. If you're familiar with Prattville's baseball indoor facility or Marbury's indoor baseball facility, that's literally what this is, okay? Maintenance storage building. One of the biggest things that I was not prepared for in this job was we do not have a lot of areas to put our stuff as a county system. Okay, so we are in the process of looking at building a storage building. Again, now this one will have offices. It'll be a little more, I hate to say jazzed up, but it will, because obviously you're going to have chemicals and things in there that you're going to keep heated and cooled a little better. That one went out. It's $1.6 million, $273 per square foot. The 3 projects that we're doing right now that most resembles the Ace Hardware building are our female locker rooms that we're building on all 3 high school campuses, okay? Again, the Prattville locker room, $340. There's a little more dirt work involved in that. That's why it's a little higher, but all 3 are exactly the same. These have 2 locker rooms. These have turf in the middle. These have restrooms. They're heated and cooled. Again, they're much more like what you're expecting the Ace Hardware to look like. I want you to see the cost per square foot. $340 per square foot, $329, $327. I hear you now watching. That's ridiculous. I agree. I agree 100%. But guys, this is what our communities have got to understand. This is the world that we live in education. We have different standards, we have different costs, we have different regulations. When we decide to do a project, we send it to the state, we send it to all the people that's got to sign off on it, and the cost comes back, this is the low bid. So these projects we're doing right now, we are using some of our local dollars, we're using some state funds. The total projects of everything, if I remember right, it's about $9 million. So there's you a good scenario on the background. And again, this was not 2 years from now. This was just awarded in the last few weeks. These are current projects with the current cost. Okay, so what's included in the proposed purchase? Again, everybody's keying on the land, and yes, the land's important. If you're going to build a building there, or if you're going to have to move your central office because of a split, or you've got to have the buildings. You've got to have not just the building, it's got to be a building that is not going to cost you a ton in remodeling. Ace Hardware is a relatively new building. I think it's 3 years old if I remember right. It is a 17,000 square foot commercial building that gives us the flexibility to navigate our uncertain future. So people keep saying, well, what are you going to do with it? I don't know, because I need to find out for sure what the city of Prattville is going to do. But again, I go back to what I've been saying for 2 years. There's two long-term problems we can't solve, and one of them is the growth of the Marbury Pine Level area. This building, this property, gives us flexibility to know how we can solve some of that. So the building could be used for central office. It could house all county operations, maintenance, personnel, CNP, SPED, you name it. The building could be used for an ag shop, weight room, career tech facility. We've looked at the idea. I actually started exploring this as a county, and I ran into some roadblocks, but I really like the idea of coming up with a special needs training facility for all of our students. We did pursue that it was about this time last year, and I just ran into some roadblocks there. But again, I don't know what officially that will become, but I do know if you're going to build a school there, and again, the numbers are dictating that we do need to, and then on top of that, if the city does indeed split, and again, they're actively gathering all their information for that to make a decision, this facility gives you options. But also, it's included, it has the two 40 by 170 covered pole barns. You can use those to house all your maintenance stuff. You can, if I'm being honest, you could use it for ag shops. You can use it as far as housing stuff. You could use it for athletic facilities. I don't know what we'll eventually use it for, but it's there. You have options. There's a 1,200 square foot heated and cooled shop. Again, that was used for small engine repairs. The 10.5 acres of land, it gives us the option to build on that 30 acres. This is a part of it that a lot of people don't know. The school system, as part of the agreement, is going to get all the lumber. We're going to get a lot of the plumbing supplies. We're going to get a lot of the nuts and bolts. Basically, things that our maintenance department spends money on now will be included in the sale. We have a detailed inventory list. Again, so the property proposed to be purchased is a little over 17,000 square feet. Here's where I need, again, I'm trying to explain this and make sure that everybody has all the information. At $4.2 million, it is priced at $247 a square foot. That number only factors in the 17,000 square foot building. It does not include a proposed value for 10.5 acres. It does not include the value of the two pole barns. It does not include the value of the 1,200 square foot facility. It does not include the value of the inventory. The price per square foot, guys, I'm just giving you that as a comparison because, again, if I go back to here, you see what we are currently paying for facilities that are 6,000 square feet. That's the locker rooms. That's the number. So if you run the numbers and then you build a 17,000 square foot shop, you can look at the last bullet. If we use the $332 per square foot, which is the average of those three facilities that best compares to it, you are looking at $5,644,000 to build the same building, not counting the land, not counting the access points you're gaining with the land, not counting the pole barns, not counting anything, just the building. You can expect at least that to cost the school board $5,644,000. If we built it for $250 a square foot, which again, I will go back, that is nothing that's in comparison. The maintenance storage building costs more than what I'm proposing, but again, for the numbers, you'd still be at $4,250,000, which is roughly what we're paying now. So again, you know, I know there's still going to be people who go, that's way too much to pay. Okay, I understand, and I'm not disagreeing, but in the education world, our cost is so much more substantial than in the residential world. That's just fact. All right, so I included this chart as well. All right, just to summarize everything I've been talking about. On the left, at $4.2 million, it includes the 17,000 square foot building. It includes the 10.5 acres. It includes the 1,200 square foot shop. It includes the 2 pole barns. Here's a cost that I didn't really know how to factor. We have a bid. I can tell you what the bid price is, but that parking lot's already there. That is a massive cost. It's not even included. It includes some inventory we're going to get. If we were to build it, you're looking at 4.2 to 5.6. And again, I would say that's probably on the low end. 10.5 acres. There is currently the 1 parcel of the 10 that was on for sale for $600,000. I understand that you can ask whatever you want to for land. It don't mean that somebody's going to pay it. I get it. But go pull the comps that have sold down Highway 31. If it's sold for the low end of comps, you're talking about $200,000 an acre. Now you add $200,000 times 10, you're at, what, $2 million. So again, these are all the decisions that went into why I brought this to the board to consider. Again, like I told the board, my father builds houses. I use residential construction on the construction cost for the shop. That's $150 a square foot to $200 a square foot. Again, that's the numbers, okay? And the inventory, again, we pay for the inventory every day. So again, if we can get some of that and offset future costs, that's a win for us. So, obviously, this slide, let's see, I'm sorry, I think I just did that one. All right, no, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. All right, so why should we consider this, okay? It provides the needed land that we have to build any new school construction, whether that's the smaller project of Marbury Middle or whether that's the large project of Marbury High School. Now, I'm going to pause there. I've been asked, well, if you build a high school, what would happen? Well, in theory, and I'm not saying we are, so I'm going to say if, but if that occurred, the current Marbury High School would then become Marbury Middle School. That would then free up the current Marbury Middle School to be used for all the other stuff we just mentioned. It gives you options. All right, it gives us flexibility in terms of facilities. Here's a big one, okay? It protects the investment already made by the Board of Education with 30 acres. I told the board the other night, I said, if we're not going to do this with the way that price per acre has now increased on 31, then we need to sell the 30 acres, divide it up in lots and sell it, and then go find 40 acres somewhere else. But again, we go back to, and I said this earlier talking with the news, Highway 31 is the most desirable area in, I would say probably one of the most desirable areas in Autauga County, but definitely in that portion of the county. If the Board of Education owns the 40 acres and we can control the education pathway moving forward, that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons, okay? So that protects the 30 acres. Guys, it was on the market. I'm sure there was other offers. I'm sure there was other things there it could have been. If you get something on that property that is not conducive for education, well, you just devalued your 30 acres. So again, this gives us flexibility. I keep going back to that word because that's the main one. I go back to this as well. There's only one other landowner that we can access land from. And I will say this, I'll go on record now, I said it the other night to the board. If that land comes available, I will bring it to the board because again, they're not saying we would buy it or not, but you have to secure the area around the land that you own for long-term purchases. So if we didn't purchase the ACE property, well now you're down to only one landowner. If the land even ever came up for sale, it's currently not on the market. So again, the flexibility, you only had 2 landowners and one of them, their property came up for sale. If you started construction today, you're looking at 2 to 3 years before students can move into the building. How do we position the district if the split occurs? And this is what I spent a little time on the other night and in previous board meetings. Whether I like it or not, we have to make decisions now as well. And I'm not saying the city of Prattville is going to do a city system or they're not. But the reality is we started off with conversations about a funding agreement and now they are looking at the city system. Families in Marbury, Pine Level, Billingsley would have every right to be upset if that split happens and I had not started positioning the district to accommodate the growth. So that's why we're here. How as a system, how do we navigate the next 3 to 5 years when we see that there's a possibility of a massive change? This property will help offset some of the costs from the maintenance department. I went over that. And again, I want to go back to numbers are numbers are numbers, okay? If we build the building at $300 a square foot, that cost is 5.1. Again, on this one, I said, all right, if it's 300, if it's 250, the cost is 4.25. If it's 332, which is again the average of those three projects we got going on right now, you're talking about $5.6 million. And again, all three of those costs are more to build the building than it is that we're paying for it to get the building, the land, and the flexibility. All right. So the biggest question I've gotten asked is, well, how are y'all paying for it? Well, I've said this repeatedly. When the tax failed, I had to get creative, and we have. We've changed some investment strategies. We've made a lot of changes with our day-to-day realities, with our day-to-day finances. And the reality is we have dramatically improved our budget over the last few years. I was asking for help from the local entities because of how bonds are approved for county school systems. To be clear, I've never asked any of our partners for help with our day-to-day operations. Guys, that's my job to figure it out. When the tax failed, I had to figure it out. We figured it out. We figured it out to the point where out of the same local funds, we have funded instructional supplements for our teachers. For too long, many of our teachers did jobs after school and never got paid for it. We've increased, we started that, we have a mechanism in place. I'd like to expand those moving forward. Quite frankly, we've built in the capability to do some of that. We've increased fine art and athletic supplements. We've added local units. A lot of our schools have local units now. That was one of the things with the tax referendum that I was saying, hey, this is what this could be used for. We have found other ways to fund it, and we've been able to add local units to many of our campuses. I'm extremely proud to say we've expanded career tech education. I was there meeting with Mr. Robinson today. You know, we added a welding teacher. We added construction classes. We're expanding that across the county. That comes out of our local budget. We provided for performance bonuses. All employees got it last year. I'm very proud of that. We've improved nearly all of our campuses in terms of their facility needs. Now, we have focused on some campuses more than others because those campuses, no matter what, will be here. Prattville High School's campus is going to be a major, important part of the systems, whether it's a city system or a county system. That building's going to be there long term. Again, I'm on record with this. I think if you build a Prattville High School, that needs to become your middle school, and you do a massive reconsolidation throughout the city. But anyway, that building's going to be there. So we have sunk a lot of money into Prattville High School. Why? It's going to be there long term. Guys, we've paid off 3 bonds over the last 3 years. That has changed our economic position some with bonds. We currently have a 7-month financial reserve. The state recommendation is 1 month. And look, I told the board the other night, Ms. Wallace and I both agree. When you have a system the size of ours, I don't want us to ever fall below 3 months. So at the end of the day, if approved, this purchase would bring us to approximately 6.5 months reserve. We have the money to make the purchase. Now, I can see the comments probably coming in. I can't see them, by the way. They're live, and I don't never see them until Ms. Taunton lets me know. But the obvious question would be, well, if you have a reserve, what's the problem with why you can't get bonds? Again, it has nothing to do with the money in your bank. The bonds are backed by millage. We are a 10 mil system. I will ask you to also look at Elmore County. They're a 10 mil system. Chilton County, 10 mil system. Now, how many brand new schools do you see in those 3 counties? Not a lot, because we're all fighting the same battle. Anybody that's watching, I need you to echo this across the board. This is the reality. A county system with 10 mills, the cost of construction has devalued that money. One more thing, I've been asked a lot of times, well, my property tax keeps going up and y'all should have plenty of money. Okay, I agree, if that's how it worked. That is not how it works. All right, so we have to match the state. It's called the 10 mil match. For us to participate in state funding, we have to write a check for that, the 10 mil equivalent. So if your property values are going up, that's a good thing. That means, hey, people desire your property. Well, it don't matter how much it goes up. Until you get to 11 mills, it does not benefit the school system. So that's one thing I'll point out there as well. That's a major thing. Again, back to the presentation. If approved, this purchase would bring us, again, to 6.5 months reserve. All right, so I told the board the other night, this is not a final deal. So what does this contract mean? It's just like if you were buying a house. Basically, the seller and I, the board, we have some terms in place. Now we will go through that normal due diligence process, just like you do when you buy a house. There'll be a closing date set later on. Obviously, there'll be surveys, there'll be appraisals, there'll be all that stuff that you normally do. I anticipate that process will take 3 to 4 months. Once we get to the end of that process, before the sale is officially complete, I will then have to bring everything back to the board and they will vote again on whether to formally approve the expenditure or not. So again, why are we doing this? I hope that presentation gives you a little more of the why, but the reality is it gives us flexibility. Right now, I'm going to go the other side of this, okay? If the city splits and Ace Hardware goes somewhere else, there is nothing that the Board of Education can do except to wheel in a bunch of trailers on the campuses. Mr. Conyer, I think we got you. Short of wheeling in a bunch of trailers for the next 10 years, because again, construction takes time, the whole process takes time. This purchase gives us the flexibility to maneuver this uncertain time. So, I believe that's it. Ms. Taunton, is that it? All right, Mr. Conyers, I think we're ready. Q&A. Do we have any questions? No questions. All right, well, maybe that helped. Seriously, no questions? All right. I know we're live. Ms. Taunton, do you have any questions? I feel like we need to ask some questions. Ms. Davis? Well, all right. If that's, I hate to say if that's it, but here's the good thing about this. Now the presentation's out there. Again, anybody with questions, I would encourage you to watch this. This is the same presentation I gave the board. We're going to continue actively trying to improve all education across Prattville and our Billingsley and Pine Level areas. So, again, this presentation was important to hopefully answer some of the questions that many of you have. So, if there's no questions, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us. And again, I don't respond to everything on social media. I try not to stay on there a whole lot. Usually I'm trying to spend time at home with my family or whatever. But if you have a question, reach out to me. I'll try my best to answer it. And again, we appreciate you guys watching.